Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 23 of The Cosmic Force. My name is Emma Park, and on tonight's show, we have a very special guest discussing a very special topic in the second of three shows in Youtini's latest crossover event, all about the women of Star Wars. And we even have some recently breaking High Republic news. But before we dive into it, let's check in with all of my fellow co-hosts, starting with Tyler. Tyler, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you? It's a different interaction between you and I. We're not used to this.
I know it feels a little off, but that's okay.
Well, it's gonna be a fun show.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited about it. Caleb, I see you're wearing one of your Star Wars ties for this special occasion. How are you?
Exactly. I'm doing really well. I'm feeling real excited. Like, I think this is going to be a great show. We've got some really nice show notes. We got a special guest, and that's always exciting. So I think we're off to the races here. So definitely a landmark episode ahead of us.
Amazing. And our producer, Jacob, I see you have the new issue, War of the Bounty Hunters Bausch there. What'd you think?
I really loved it. I would put it in like a class with like Lando, the miniseries, and the fact that it makes me care for a character that really actually never showed up in the movies. Similar to how I really care about Lobot, who was in the movies for all of 30 seconds and did nothing meaningful whatsoever. So it was amazing. I want more of that. I don't know why, but yeah, give me like an ongoing Bausch story, which I didn't see myself saying a month ago.
It's the magic of Star Wars comics, and we love that. So our very special guest is our very own Meg Dowell. We couldn't have an episode of about women in Star Wars without her. Meg, how are you tonight?
Hi, I am here and I am good. I don't even know what day it is anymore, but you know what? We're here together and that's all that matters.
Absolutely. Well, we're so happy to have you here making your Cosmic Force debut. And you're even rocking the Cosmic Force t-shirt.
I am.
It's perfect. It's so perfect.
It is. I didn't buy it specifically for this occasion at all. It's fine.
I believe you're a better host than all of us, because I don't think do any of us have that shirt?
I do not.
I have two of them. Yeah.
We got matching ones for me and my wife, just so that we finally can have like matching shirts when we go out. It's cute.
It's free advertising too. It's great.
There you go.
Well, it isn't exactly free, but
yeah, but it's fun. It's a fun way to advertise. So if you are joining us for the very first time, welcome. We are a Star Wars comics podcast that broadcasts live right here on youtube.com/Youtini every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you can't join us live, that's okay, because we are also available on all of your favorite podcast platforms. We're a part of the Youtini podcast network of nearly a dozen shows with a Discord channel at youtini.com/Discord, and that has more than 1,000 members in it with dozens of channels to choose from. If you like what you see and want to say thanks, then head over to our Patreon channel at patreon.com/Youtini, where for as little as $5 a month, you can gain exclusive access to the entire Youtini podcast network of shows, as well as exclusive merch and community involvement. So like I said at the top of the show, we have had some recently breaking High Republic news. Tyler, what is this all about?
Well, we got covers. We got lots of covers. We got book covers. We got comic covers. And as far as this show goes, we'll start off with the cover reel for issue number 1 of the High Republic Eye of the Storm, with a very dashing. Unfortunately, he's too small in this very dashing looking Marchion Ro. As a reminder, this is a 2-shot comic digging into the history of Marchion Ro, and it was written by none other than Charles Soule. So that was the first issue cover that we got. We also got Edge of Balance Volume 2, and the strange news that it is going to be released as a digital-only release. This is, of course, written by Daniel Jose Older. After the first issue was written by Justine Ireland, so that is we're excited for that to come out. And then also we got cover art for the High Republic Adventures Annual number 1. These are arriving in December, and that includes stories from Charles Soule, Kevin Scott, Claudia Gray, Justina Ireland, and Daniel Jose Older. Basically, the entire crew writing for the High Republic is going to be participating in that. And the art is from Sam Beck, Jason Liu, Yale Nathan, Jesse Longren, and Stefano Simone. So the cover that Jacob's got up right now is my favorite. But yeah, there were a couple of different covers that were released, and yeah, we should be looking for those before the end of the year.
Yeah, that's really exciting stuff. I'm so excited that we're getting such a wide variety of authors writing in the annual. That's so cool. And one other thing I want to say for our video watchers, this cover that we have up right now, I said in our Slack channel earlier today that Lena So's expression reminds me of The Rock. If you know, you know. So those are going to be awesome. Thank you for rounding out that those comics news for us, Tyler. Now, Jacob, with our weekly pull list, we've got some awesome new releases today. What do we got?
Yeah, so we got 3 comics today. We have Darth Vader, number 16, Target Skywalker, written by Greg Pak. Pencils by Raphael Yanko, cover by Aaron Cooter. The colorist is Jason Keith, and the letterer is Joe Caramanga. Then we have War of the Bounty Hunters Bausch. It's a one-shot from Alyssa Wong with pencils by David Baladion. The cover is Mahmoud Asrar. Inker is David Baladion again. The colorist is Israel Silva, and the letterer is Ariana Meyer. And then lastly, we have High Republic Adventures, The Monster of Temple Peak, number 2, written by Kevin Scott, pencils by Rachel Stott, and the cover and inks are also from Rachel Stott as well. All the links for these are down in the description below if you want to pick them up on Comixology for yourself.
Awesome. Yeah, really great issues today. I read the Darth Vader and the Bausch, and then I'm really excited to wind down after the show with Monster of Temple Peak. So really looking forward to it. So let's move on to our What We're Loving section. And this week for Art of the Week, we have a very special set of rules based on this week's topic. So the rules were that whoever is in the Art of the Week has to either be a woman or be drawn by a woman. So this is going with our Women in Star Wars theme, and I'm really excited to see what everybody picked. So let's start out like we always do with Tyler. Tyler, what's your Art of the Week?
So my Art of the Week comes from High Republic number 3, and it is, of course, Avar Kriss being a badass and just slicing the Drengar in half. Penciler is Ario Anandito, the inker is Mark Morales, and the color artist is Annalisa Leone. And it was just fun. Like, I didn't get a chance to really finish the trade paperback after our review of it, so I was kind of going through it and just getting to this point it was awesome to see her just doing her thing and coming to the rescue. So considering the theme of the week this week, I thought it was a good selection.
Yeah, very nice. So I will go next, and mine is from Dr. Aphra, the 2016 series, issue 29, with pencils by Emilio Laso. And this was just, I loved this art here. I mean, we've got Aphra carrying 000 on her back, and there's some really funny dialogue between them. This whole little series of issues here was absolutely hilarious. A little bit of like buddy cop type of thing between Aphra and 000. And I mean, Aphra is one of my favorite women in Star Wars comics, and we are definitely going to be talking about her quite a bit later. So next is Caleb. Caleb, what you got?
This one also came from that Aphra run a little bit earlier. This is Aphra number 17. Pencils by Amelia Lasso, but also colored by Rachel Rosenberg. I think we might be talking a little bit later. But this was a really sort of fun thing because, this one is introducing one of my personal favorite characters from the EU here is General Harris Syndulla, and her kind of the way that she plays off of Aphra in this whole issue and this whole arc. It's a lot of fun, and it's really nice whenever you see a character that from like Rebels or like your own little secret show, and they show up and like, haha, this is going to be a good sort of thing. And that was really sort of fun to see Hera back in this sort of thing. And she's made transition. She was in the video game Star Wars Starfighters Squadrons.
Yep.
Yes. So it's nice that she's getting into other media, so it's really exciting to see her here.
Yeah. Oh, I always love when Hera shows up in literally anything, so this is a very good pick. Jacob, what do you have for your Art of the Week?
Yeah, so I'm pulling from something a little different. I'm going Forces of Destiny, the Leia issue, with art by Elsa Chartier. So I love her style. I kind of found her stuff when I was doing some of my IDW read-throughs, and it I don't know. There's something about it is very striking. It reminds me a lot of like Darwin Cook or like Bruce Timm, like the like 90s like Justice League cartoon type style. And it's super iconic for me, like growing up with that. And yeah, I love how her art transfers to Star Wars, and I really hope to see her do some more stuff in that medium because I am a big fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how she drew Leia in this panel. I don't know, captures her image very well.
Mm-hmm.
Meg, what do you have for your art of the week?
Well, this will surprise absolutely no one. It had to be Phasma related because
yes.
of course it did. Because Sabine is in not enough comics and Bo-Katan is in none of them. So, you know, I had to go with this one. This is from Age of Resistance, the Captain Phasma one shot, with pencils by Leonard Kirk. And I love, this is like actually my favorite page in comics ever. Because this whole one shot is about this one stormtrooper who is like, Phasma, you have a name, you don't have a number, and you're different. How do I be like you? And this is where she finally confronts her about that. And the thing that stands out to me most is that Phasma's helmet is off, which is a big deal. I love this comic. So
oh my gosh, it makes me think about, you know, what if Phasma had lived? What if we got to see her with her helmet off, like in the movies? Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
I would be lying if I said I didn't think about this every single day. So I am right there with you.
This was a great pick, and I believe, Caleb, we have a community submission.
Exactly. This was our winner from the one and only Blind Fate. So I think I saw in the chat. This is from the Dawn of the Jedi Force War. Art by John Dursema. This is a really, really, kind of striking sort of one. And we put the Canto requirements in Discord, and you guys really knocked it out of the park with some really good options, some really good picks here. I don't know. I think we were all kind of drawn to this one just because of like, it shows like such a kind of a regal entrance, almost like a fine entrance. Like it's a really cool sort of thing. And I said it last time when the cover art won it. I think I really need to figure out and start reading this Dawn of the Jedi stuff. This looks really good.
Yeah, Jan Dursema's art is always just so amazing, and we are going to be talking about her for sure later on in the show. So normally we would go into what we're reading, but instead of doing that, I really want to give Meg a chance to plug a project of hers. Meg, what do you got?
I do have a project, specifically Project Stardust. So we're here tonight talking about women in comics, that's characters and writers and artists and things like that. One of the things that I have been working on, and I have a whole team, it's not just me, we are focused on making sure that more underrepresented voices in the fandom are creating things and getting their stuff out there. So listen, if you're a straight white dude, I love you very much, but this is not for you. You can read all the things, but we are always looking for underrepresented voices, whatever that might mean for you specifically, to write for us, really anything. Just we are, we're out here doing the things. We're doing reviews, we're thinking about things. We're talking about things that maybe not every other Star Wars site might be talking about. So we have a team of about 30 people right now, and they're just the greatest. They don't just love Star Wars. They love, the fans and the community and each other. So it's a good time. And if you haven't checked it out, please do that, because we're all working really hard and we're really proud of what we do.
That's awesome. This worked out so perfectly with our topic tonight and the project. It's so amazing, and I'm so happy that you started it, because it's a great place for women as well as people in underrepresented communities to have their voices heard. I think that's so important and so amazing. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So before we dive into our celebration of women in Star Wars comics, let's take a quick ad break and we will be right back.
Darth Vader lightsaber lamp, and I just like I just knocked over everything in my office so I could get this into the camera shot. I knocked one of the posters off the wall.
Anderson cover. I have heard the Anderson cover described by some friends of mine as one of their least favorite Legends covers, and I don't totally know why. Maybe it's just because Depa Billaba has this dead stare in the background.
You know what it is?
Emma, what is your art of the week this week?
Yeah, so I don't have anything as dark and depressing as that corpse, but all right, we are back and we are talking about women in Star Wars comics. So a big reason why we wanted to discuss this topic is that comics have not necessarily been the best space for women to be in. It's been negative and a little bit toxic, to say the least, towards women in the past and even a little bit currently still. Also, women haven't always been represented the best in comics. So we wanted to shine a light on the representation that Star Wars comics have. And I have to say, to kind of hint at some things that's coming, when I was doing some research for this show, I had no idea that there were this many women creating in Star Wars comics, and it made me so happy. It made me so happy, but it also made me realize that we need to sort of highlight the creators more, not just the writers. And I'm gonna actually, something sparked me to change something in my sort of reading habits. And what I'm gonna do from here on out is whenever I read a comic, I'm going to Google every single person that works on it so I can see what I've read of theirs before and just sort of learn more about them instead of just saying, okay, here's a name, here's a name, here's a name, because I had no idea. And it's amazing the amount of diverse people working on Star Wars comics. So what do you guys think of sort of where we started with Star Wars comics and women? I'll give an example here. Our very first Youtini crossover event was on Shadows of the Empire. And quite literally the opposite of this event, I would say, in terms of treatment of women. The book was notoriously bad. The comic, however, was focused on Guri, who was like a human sort of like android and was basically pretty much naked the whole time. It was weird.
Yeah.
And it felt kind of gross. So what do you guys think of how that representation has changed from then to today? Caleb, I'll start with you.
Yeah, like I think remembering back on that was Shadows of the Empire Evolution, I think is what the official title was. Yep. And I remember in the show notes, like, well, not in the show notes, like in the pre-show, we were talking about, like, I was asking, okay, like how low can I realistically go without being too much of a curmudgeon? I think I've given it like the lowest score ever in our show's fairly brief history of I gave that like a 5 or something like that. I really panned it badly. It was just, you could easily tell that Guri wasn't a character. It was what the writer liked drawing. He's like, I like drawing, blonde bombshell, so I'm going to make a comic starring a blonde bombshell. And that was kind of, unfortunately, the sort of style back in the day. I remember I was showing my wife this. I'm like, this looks terrible. She's like, I don't really see what's necessarily wrong with this. It's a comic. I'm like, that's not a great sign. That's not a great sign where you think, oh yeah, it's a comic book, so of course there's going to be some sort of just kind of baseness there. So it was definitely not an outlier when it was published and was created. So that, unfortunately, it's taken a while, but I think things are definitely swinging back towards a more, less away from the vampirillas and barbarillas and all like that, to other more, women in outfits sort of thing, women in real clothes sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think today when you look at like female superheroes, for instance, they're not as scantily clad as they used to be. And a lot of that has to do with like comic book culture and how that's changed. Something else that I came across in my research, and I think we've talked about this on the show before, is the idea of the women in refrigerators trope in comics, or fridging as they call it, which is basically using women as a plot device only to benefit the male character storyline by way of some sort of a sexual assault or a murder or injury or something like that. And unfortunately, this has happened recently in Star Wars comics, in Bounty Hunters. I believe that issue came out in 2020. And so we clearly still have some work to do. Yeah, Meg, what are your thoughts on this fridging trope, and do you think that we've made any sort of improvements in that area? I mean, clearly there's still plenty of room for improvement.
There is plenty of room to grow. It actually surprised me last year when that issue came out. I mean, what was not surprising was the negative reaction to it. Seeing a lot of women, especially, kind of stand up and say like, no, this is not okay, this should not still be happening, was encouraging. Just to have that reaction of like, oh, we know this should not be like this. I mean, it never should have happened, but to be able to, for women to be able to stand up together and say we can't do this anymore is, there's that at least. I think we've come a long way. I think it's a lot less prominent, and I think using last year as an example, when it does happen, I think more people are willing to call it out. But yeah, we still got work to do.
Yeah, it's as a child of the 90s, there was a certain, women were depicted in comics in a certain way, and those for those of you that are my age, I don't need to go into any further detail, and for those of you that are younger than me, you just Google it. I don't need to go into any further detail as to how they were depicted, but it's encouraging. As all of you know, I have 3 kids. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old who are very interested in comics. And it's very encouraging to see that I can share the stories of the mainline comic where Leia is front and center, or Aphra, who is the lead, and they're depicted in a completely different way than women were depicted when I was growing up. And I'm talking about just comics in general, not necessarily Star Wars comics. So it's encouraging that we are starting to turn around the corner. I will take the leave it to Emma and to Meg to tell us when we've gotten to that point, and based on what Emma's already laid out, we're not there yet. But I think that there's been a lot of progress that we've been making since the 90s, and it's encouraging as a dad to be able to see that I don't have to. Comics aren't PG-13 anymore, and I can really share them with my kids and really allow them to read that and see strong characters like Aphra and Leia. Rey's not featured as much in the mainline comics, but having the movies where she's featured, it's nice from a parental perspective to be able to show that to my kids.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. I mean, it is so important to show women being treated how they should be, in a respectful manner. And I think having media like comics do that in this day and age is so important. So that's great to hear.
Exactly. It's nice that we don't have to be embarrassed about certain aspects of our hobby, That's
a good word.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. So that's kind of the negative side of comics in the past and a little bit current. But here's some positive for you. More original characters nowadays in this era of Star Wars comics are women. That's incredible. I mean, I feel like I open up a Star Wars comic and there's at least one original woman character, or even some legacy characters. I mean, Leia's in so many things, and she's always written really well. And we're going to talk about 6 major original to comics female characters, but there are many more who play some sort of role. Like they're not even just main characters. There's a lot of side characters that are really awesome that are women. And of course, we have more writers and artists that are women. I mentioned that I was shocked at how many women have worked on Star Wars comics. And like I also said earlier, they deserve the spotlight too, for sure. So Jacob, I believe that you were recently reading the Forces of Destiny comic, and that's kind of centered around female characters, and is a sort of a way for girls to, or anyone really, to sort of get into Star Wars. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, so I mean it's been like a month or two, but yeah, I read through the Forces of Destiny. You can buy it as a trade paperback. It's like a multimedia project, so there's shorts on Disney Plus. There were like dolls, and then there were comics. So I think there's one on, oh boy, Rose and Paige, Tico, Rey, Leia,
Padme, I think.
Padme and
Yeah.
Ahsoka. And then I think
and Hera had one too.
Hera. I think that was all 5 of them. But yeah, it's like a really fun, cool story. And Em and I were talking the other day about, the show. And I was like, when they're shooting on the Living Force, they mentioned this briefly. I'm like, okay, we should probably mention this because it's great that we have women writing and we have women writing creators, same thing. Women creators, women characters, but we also want the avenue for young girls to get into Star Wars because Star Wars is for people of all ages. And it's great that we have something that young girls can get into, like Tyler was saying, as a parent, it's, you want to kind of be watchful over what your kid is consuming. But I think these are great stories to share with them, to get them into the universe and show them some great female role models and female characters. So yeah, I would definitely recommend them. And they're fun to check out, even if you are, not a young girl. So I think they're quality comics. It's just like the IDW stuff. You don't have to be a kid to read it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, man, if I had those shorts and these comics when I was a little girl, I would have flipped my lid.
Oh yeah.
Meg, what would like little 6-year-old Meg have thought of this?
I mean, really the only character I remember ever really like looking up to is Leia, because it's really all we had.
Yeah.
And like if we would have had, comics and books and all these things, like I would have lost my mind for sure. I'm so happy for all the little girls who are here now and will be someday, who can get into Star Wars and find all these female characters that they can be like, I want to be Hera, I want to be Sabine, I want to be all these women that I love, and they can start them early, and that's here now. That wasn't there before. I'm not that old, but like even then it wasn't. So
yeah, and I mean, let's see, The Force Awakens came out when I was 14, and that was the first time I had seen myself in Star Wars. I mean, obviously I looked up to Leia and I looked up to Padme, but they didn't feel like, they were attainable, a female character with some sort of, major visible flaws. And man, it was just so special. And that's exactly why representation is important. I mean, so Force of Destiny is a great pathway for that. So moving on to talk about creators. So women have a huge impact on storytelling in comics nowadays with artwork and also writing. Excuse me, they bring a much more inclusive perspective where women are sort of represented in a better manner than in the past. It's easier to avoid the fridging if you have women in the room saying, hey, that's not so good. We should take that out. And that's really, that's important. So we're going to discuss a bunch of creators here, and this is by no means an extensive list. There are seriously so many more creators than we're going to talk about here today. I was overwhelmed by how many I found, so I picked some of the bigger names today that people will recognize and have read and looked at some of their work. So Meg, you have the first group of creators here. Why don't you go down through their names and what they've worked on?
Yeah, of course. I will do my best with these names. I did not practice how to say them. It's fine. And we have Elsa Shiratir, who is both an artist and a writer, mainly on the Forces of Destiny comics. So we talked about those. So we have her. And we have the wonderful Delilah S. Dawson, who I love for many reasons that I may have mentioned already on the show once or twice. She has been a writer on some of the Star Wars Adventures comics, which is fantastic.
Yeah, did you see the picture that I picked for her, Meg? She's holding up a Phasma helmet.
Yes,
so cool.
I'm so happy. I'm going to take a minute. I'm just going to really enjoy it. And then we also have Mary Jo Duffy, who way back in the day was a writer on Star Wars 1977 for some of the issues toward the end of that run. So good for her.
Yeah, I was amazed that she was writing in the 77 series.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I really want to catch up on that. I've been kind of working through that series. I want to get to those issues that she's written because that's amazing. So
I mean, she wrote has it as issue 70 to the end, which is 37 issues.
Oh,
yeah, 37 out of 107. That's not a small amount either. So it's a pretty big
she must
contribution.
have done a good job. Yeah, absolutely. Tyler, who do we have next?
Yeah, I've got 3 more names here. I've got Jody Hauser. She is a writer for the Age of Republic, the TIE Fighter comic, the Thrawn adaptation, and the Rogue One adaptation. And then, of course, we have Justina Ireland, who is a writer for many things, but from a comics perspective, she wrote War of the Bounty Hunter, Jabba the Hutt, which is probably the best. Maybe Bausch might be right up there with it as the best sort of single comic that we've had in the War of the Bounty Hunters.
And look, what do you know? Bausch also written by a woman we're going to talk about later. So
there you go.
There it is.
And then she also wrote the High Republic, The Edge of Balance. And then also Marjorie Liu, who is also a writer, and she wrote the Star Wars Han Solo comic. So pretty much every gamut of Star Wars comics is it has some sort of woman representation in it. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a quick side note, Justina Ireland is one of my favorite authors in all of Star Wars books or comics, and I really hope she gets a chance to do more comics because she did a really great job with both the manga and the War of the Bounty Hunters. Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, she's on the annual for Star Wars Adventures because everyone is. And then was she on Life Day Treasury? I want to say she. I know Jody Hauser was. I remember that light bulb went off when Tyler was talking about her earlier. But I want to say Justine Ireland might be as well.
Oh, if she is, that is exciting.
I can look that up real quick while you guys keep going.
Yeah, sure. So I have the next 3 here. We have Sam Maggs, who is a writer on issues of Star Wars Adventures. And I was shocked, actually, when I was researching her work, that the recently announced Knights of the Old Republic remake, she is a writer on that game. This is unbelievably important. I know that we don't talk about video games on this show. However, it is key to note that this is huge news. Unfortunately, she already got some backlash for it, but does that surprise anyone? Unfortunately not. No. However, I am really looking forward to seeing what she does on that. And I haven't gotten to her Star Wars Adventures issues yet, but I was looking at some of the reviews for them, and everybody says that she's just an awesome writer.
Yeah, and to confirm, yes, Justina Ireland and Jody Hauser are helping out on the Life Day one shot. So there you go.
Oh, that's great news. Okay, we got more to look forward to from them. That's great. All right, so next up we have Kelly Thompson, who wrote the Captain Phasma series. So, Meg, I know that you know her work very well.
I do.
That was a great series, by the way.
It was
amazing.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean that cover art too. Look at that. That's amazing. Oh, we love some Captain Phasma here.
Yes, we do.
And then last up on our list is Alyssa Wong, who wrote or is currently writing Dr. Aphra 2020. That's still going on, and wrote the one shot, the Bausch issue today, and she did a fantastic job. Yeah, it's just great. When it was announced that she was writing the new Dr. Aphra series, I was really excited because having an Asian woman write Dr. Aphra, who is also an Asian woman in Star Wars. That must have meant so much to her. And so I was really, really excited for her to get that opportunity. So those were just the writers, people. We have artists as well. So Caleb, let's have you kick it off with a huge name here.
Absolutely. This one, we actually mentioned her earlier. It's Jen Duursema, and she's done a lot of really great work in the old Dark Horse Star Wars Republic and in Star Wars Legacy series, as much as already a lot of the other Star Wars projects, like, as we said, the Star Wars, what was it? Dawn of the Jedi. Like, it's just some really great artwork from her. Plus, not to get too pedantic, but like even her name sounds like a Star Wars character, like it's like she's like a perfect fit for this universe. So the more we can get from her, the better it's gonna be.
Yeah, and actually, fun tidbit here with she helped create the look of Ayla Secura and Quinlan Vos.
Exactly.
And I remember hearing about when they were doing Revenge of the Sith, and they were talking about the Order 66 scene, and they were talking about like what Jedi they wanted to see get killed off, and George was like, "Oh, I like that girl from the comics. Put her in there. She's good. Yeah, she's cool."
A pitch perfect George Lucas there. And plus and not to get too pedantic, but also like Quinlan Vos, like I've always been a fan of his. I haven't read his comic series, but just because the way he looks, his design, you can take one look and be like, I want to read more of you. You should be in your own series.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this guy is a badass, and we know that just from his look. It's so iconic.
Yeah, and she's like, she's mostly known for Legends, but she has been able to do a few High Republic variant covers as of late. So it's nice to get her back around and involved with Star Wars comics again.
Yeah, get her toes back wet with the new canon here. After that one, next on the list is Annalisa Leone. She's a colorist. She's done a lot of work with the High Republic. Just a lot of really, like, the High Republic has been such a great field of wonderful colors and visuals. So it's great when we bring in more people so we get to see fun colors, like lots of popping. Like, the High Republic has been really overabundant with great color and great artists.
That's one of the highlights, I think, of the High Republic book is really how the colors pop, and really they get to showcase the dress of the the Jedi and all their regalness. And I mean, the color she was featured, and that I featured in my art of the week was something that she was a part of. So one of the highlights of the High Republic comics are all the colors that are used.
In not just drab brown, guys. It's not just drab brown. All right, next up on the list is Megan Levins. She's an artist, and she's done a lot of various work with Star Wars Adventures, and Star Wars Adventures is always a great place to go because you never, to quote Forrest Gump, you never know what you're going to get. You're always going to get something good but I feel like Star Wars Adventures has a lot wider range to do different styles and different ways of writing comics and showing them on the page. So it's really great that we got let her kind of flex her muscles there. I don't remember off the tip of my tongue if we talked about any of her show ones when we did the Republic Adventures episode of ours.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe on our follow-up of Star Wars Adventures, the back half.
I think maybe she's done the more recent issues. I kind of want to say
it's hard to keep track of because the art, like, it is. There's a new writer like every issue basically, and there are 2 writers per issue at least. So it's a little bit of a jumbled mess of creators. So
yeah, for sure. But you know what? The art is in Star Wars Adventures is always so spot on. So whatever she's done, it's been great. Jacob, I believe you have the next round of artists here.
Yes. So first up, we have Giada Marchisio, who is the colorist for Target Vader. She's working on the current Darth Vader run, and she's also on the upcoming Trail of Shadows miniseries. So some great work there. Target Vader was a really the one shot is the one with the most iconic Star Wars panel of all time. The I'm surrounded by nothing but fear and dead men. It's like, it's a little to be honest, a little overused internet. Chill out. There are other cool Star Wars panels out there, but great to have her on one of the most known Star Wars comics panels of all time.
Yeah, and the art in Target Vader was really iconic too.
Mhm.
So yeah, love that stuff.
And then
sorry, just minor correction. Philip, I've been watching too much. Actually, the panel you're talking about, Jacob, was from Vader Down.
oh god, that's right.
It's still a cool panel.
Target Vader's yeah.
Yeah, don't add us Twitter /
Whatever.
online. Just,
Right.
but Target Vader does have a lot of like similar moments.
This is true. You know, a big, you know, one of the first times we really, well, not the first time, one of the main first times, whatever, that you see Valence after like the Han Solo stuff.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Valence's reintroduction.
Also, you have a Tusken woman sniper. She's not actually Tusken. Spoilers. But you know, that's a cool character because you see them for all 3 seconds in Attack of the Clones, and it's a really cool design.
And it has one of the most memorable issues of a comic I've ever read before, with the Vader's nurse, but she kept like stealing. Like,
oh no, that's
from him?
that's Dark Visions.
Oh,
yes, that was
Dark
a horror
Visions.
compilation where
There's just so much Vader
yeah,
stuff.
it was essentially is Harley Quinn essentially.
Yeah, this is just the Cosmic Force realizing there are way too many Vader miniseries that have come out in the past like 3 years.
I was about to compliment her on how well the art was drawn.
It was very unsettling. Yeah, it did the job.
It is. We can give her credit anyways, though. She deserves it, I'm sure.
Anyways, moving on. We got Rebecca Nalty, who is known for the much loved. She's a colorist for the High Republic Adventures line right now, and Clone Wars Battle Tales, which are both fantastic miniseries.
Yeah, two heavy hitters.
Yeah. I've not got around to Battle Tales yet, but I've heard nothing but good things, and like that cover for that is so iconic. But yeah, it's great work there. I love the art on the High Republic Adventures. The art and the writing on that book is way better than it has any right to be for a comic targeted at children. It is amazing and still my favorite thing in the High Republic right now. So yeah, great to have her working on that. And then lastly for me, we have Valentina Pinto, who is another great addition to the Star Wars Adventures stable of creators.
Yeah, I love how Star Wars Adventures has a plethora of women creators. That's great. That cover's cool.
Yeah, it's cool because like the model of that of the just how that series is published is you're allowed to take some risks. You can bring in lesser known writers and lesser known artists and have them do kind of whatever they want because you're not locked down to a timeline. It's only gonna be tops half of 2 issues. So like they have a little bit more free reign to mess around and get some, bring some people in that can do something different than what we're used to. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we have 3 more artists here. Meg, take it away.
I shall. We have Pamela Rambo.
Cool name, by the way.
Exactly. I read it so many times and I'm like, I love it. Known for Tales of the Jedi and a lot of other Dark Horse Star Wars comics. And then, I lost it. No. Rachel Rosenberg, who worked on Dr. Aphra 2016, which is a fantastic comic and one of the only comics that I've read from beginning to end. I'm not gonna lie, but it's just that good. And also for she also worked on Rogue One, the Rogue One comic, and many more things. And okay, there we go. I'm fine. We're good. And we have our artist for Monster at Temple Peak, which is Rachel Scott.
Yes, not to be confused with Cavan Scott. Every time we talk about Monster of Temple Peak, it's like written by Cavan Scott, art by Rachel Stott, and it's like
no relation.
Her art in this is incredible, you guys.
So
the way that she draws Ty
so
Yorick, there's always just like so much motion and her like I don't know what you call those on Thalothians. It's not like Leku, but her head things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just wonder. She does it just perfectly, and it's amazing. Just the monsters that she draws too. I mean, you must have to have an insane amount of creativity just flowing through your body to come up with a Star Wars creature. It's amazing. All right. So those were a bunch of creators. Again, like I said, there are so many more. I highly recommend just looking up the creators of the comic that you're reading. It's I think we would all be surprised at how many women are working on what we're reading today. And it's so important, like I mentioned, to have women in the room. All right. So next, let's talk about original women characters from comics. So let's start with probably the most well-known one, the most iconic and chaotic character. That is Dr. Aphra, the one and only. She's a rogue archaeologist. We talk about her a ton, and that's for a good reason. She's a complex character that's very well written. She's also very well drawn as well. And she just has so many iconic moments in this series. I mean, she has not just this series. I mean, she's shown up in, the Star Wars mainline in 2015 and War of the Bounty Hunters and some Darth Vader stuff. And I'm not going to try to say the year because, again, there's so many Vader and just so many good things. Like, she has this, she's got 000, which she has a great banter with. Anybody that you put Dr. Aphra with, she's going to have a great banter with because she's just witty and hilarious. She has so much life experience, with archaeology, getting into mischief and all of that good stuff. So I'm going to start with Jacob on this question. What do you think are the aspects of her character that translates so well into comics?
Man, wow. I think she brings an element of chaos to the comics that is, much appreciated and much needed because, with the current timeline, not counting the High Republic stuff, you have Vader, and not counting the event stuff, I'm not even getting into that. Vader, Bounty Hunters, Aphra, and Star Wars, and 3 of them are kind of like very serious most of the time, which are cool and enjoyable, but it's nice to have something that shakes it up a little bit. So Aphra can also be very serious and have some pretty strong, like, emotional moments, but the fact that you get to she's like the Jar Jar in a good way, like of the comics universe, because she brings that levity and that balance to what can be at times a very heavy storytelling. So yeah, I love her. I mean, it was like when we were talking about this episode, I was like, all right, we need to avoid talking about Aphra for the entire episode because it's very easy to do so. She's a very likable character. We've done an entire episode on Vader. We've talked about today how many stupid, ridiculous amount of Vader miniseries there are. We could do a whole episode about Aphra just in general if we wanted to.
Yeah, for sure. Tyler, do you have any thoughts on her character traits that makes her such an iconic comics character?
I really think it's her humor, and it's depicted in a way that it's coupled. She is one of those characters that stands out in comics because when you marry the writing and the art, it works so perfectly because she has this. I can't even, it's debonairness of like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing all the time, and even if I'm winging it, I know that I'm winging it. I know that I'm going to work, and it works, and it's her sense of humor. She brings so much levity to the scene that I've got to imagine. I'm not an artist myself, but I've got to imagine it must be fun to draw her character in all the crazy situations that she's been in. And I really feel like she is the character that kind of works well into any sort of, you can throw her in any situation and she'll figure out a way to not only get a lay of the land, but kind of sort of, figure out a way that, to work it to her benefit.
Absolutely. Like, to be a little cliche here, like one of the big things that I really like about Aphra is that her story isn't written. We don't know what the end of Aphra is. We know what the end of Darth Vader is, and we know what the end of Han and Luke and Leia is. But with Aphra, we don't know. So when she comes on the screen, this is going to sound so bad, like, she makes you want to turn the page, because every page you're like, oh, she's keep going. She's getting in more trouble. She's getting in more trouble. Surely she'll, nope, more trouble. Like every single page turn, you're like, oh, this is getting like it's a new and exciting sort of path that she's taking you down. And as I said, due to her chaoticness, they can go from location to location, and it doesn't feel like she's jumping around too much. So definitely a lot of energy in that, and makes you want to, as I said, keep turning that page.
Meg, what do you think about Afra? Is she? You said that you read the entire series, and it's one of the only series that you've read like every single issue of. So you must enjoy her.
For sure. She works so well in comics because she's just over the top all the time, every single panel she's in, which is good, because it's just a great way to showcase like who she is, which is like she deals with her emotions in sometimes the worst possible ways, and she's reckless and doesn't think through anything. And that's just the perfect comic book character, because you just don't know what she's going to do next. And that is why I read the entire series, because I mean, I've read other series too, but like like Caleb said, you just keep turning pages because you just want to know like can it get any more chaotic than it already is? And the answer is usually yes, it can.
Yes, absolutely. And so another great thing, I mean, obviously, we're talking about women in comics today, but there's so many other forms of representation that are extremely important. And Dr. Afra embodies representation. She is a woman, she is Asian, and she is part of the LGBTQ community. And in fact, the Dr. Afra comic series, the 2016 one, won the GLAAD Award for Best Comics Character. So that is amazing. So that award is for LGBTQ representation. So that's incredible that a Star Wars character won that award. I mean, that's just got to mean a lot to so many people. And I mean, we say it all the time, representation, it's really important. It's so important.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of representation is important, we have another very awesome character here. Tyler, why don't you kick it off?
Yes, the character that I'm talking about is, of course, Sana Starros. She was introduced as Han Solo's quote-unquote wife in the mainline comics, but she's obviously been involved with Afra, including all the way up to the current run of Afra books through the War of the Bounty Hunter arc. She's actually also crossed over into the books. She was featured in Last Shot by Daniel Jose Older. And I want to toss this question over to Jacob. Why do we think that Sana, of all the characters that start in comics, why do we think that Sana is the one that has crossed over as frequently as she has?
That's tough. I mean, from a story perspective, it makes sense because she, has connections with everyone. She has histories with Han and with Lando and with Afra. So, it makes sense to see her around a lot. She's a very fun character to be able to, to see. I think she's especially with her relationship with Afra, she's the only one that can put up with her shit. It's like yes, okay,
So
okay, Afra, like we get it. We're moving on. So yeah, I think she balances out the chaotic energy that Afra's putting out there, and that makes her, that's a tough act to keep up. So she's a very fun character. I love her ship, one of the coolest ship designs I've seen in the comics. Yeah, I think she's enjoyable every time she shows up. I don't think I've ever had a issue where I'm like, Sana Starros. Like she's always, yeah, I think she's been pretty well used, which is every single time, which is surprising again for how many times she's been used in the comics that we've never like had a misstep with her.
Yeah, absolutely. Meg, what are your thoughts on Sana? I mean, this picture of her, by the way, so badass and cool.
I think that was from the Pride cover, right?
I think so too. It looked
so.
very recent to me. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect character to put alongside Afra. They need each other, and they also need to stay as far away from each other as possible.
That is the perfect description.
Yeah.
Oh my god. You know what? It's crazy though. That made me think like they are so similar to each other that they need to stay away from each other.
Please.
But they also need to be together. But they also need to stay away from each other. It's like it's like that back and forth, and that's what makes their sort of relationship really fun. I mean,
exactly.
I remember when I was reading Last Shot, and it's like Sana Starros shows up. I was like, what? This is nuts.
Oh yeah.
And I want that. I want that for Afra. oh man, it'd be cool to like get a book with them together. I mean, get that chaotic energy into books. Comics, we have a ton of chaotic energy. Let's bring it over. Let's bring it over to books. We need some more chaotic energy.
Right. It's not exactly the same, but we do have the audiobook, which again is an adaptation of the comics, but
yeah, we get some more Vader. I can and you finally get to hear Triple Zero's voice. Hint, hint. It's not a deep version of Anthony Daniels. I learned that the hard way. But yeah, that's also a great thing if you like Afro, by the way. If you haven't checked that out, please do.
Oh yeah.
The audio drama was a lot of fun. Now, here's my quick, 5-cent question. Who's going to make it into like the video game world first? Do you think it's going to be Stanosaurus, or do you think it's going to be Dr. Afra?
I don't know if any of them will. Like, I don't know what to expect with Star Wars video games now. It's like, I expect a Jedi Fallen Order 2. I don't see any of these characters showing up.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, maybe Afra shows up as like a hero character in like the next Battlefront game. That's like the only thing I can think of, because I don't see a natural entry point for any of them in the stories that we at least can relatively easily see coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, okay, if we're just talking about our dreams here, I would say that like a Tomb Raider game with starring Afra, but make it in Star Wars. Like, give me that, please. Like, pretty please. I would want that. But also, I mean, if you think about like TV, I mean, there's definitely some opportunities for these characters to show up in live action, and that would be mind blowing. I mean, what if Afra showed up in the Mandalorian.
Mando season 3.
She's a perfect character to have a just random run-in with any of the characters in Mandalorian. That would be so awesome if we could see her in that, or I guess Andor would probably be a little too early for that. But yeah, she's got the perfect job, the perfect way to be able to just have a cameo where she, they run into her in the cantina and she's there, and then she's, off.
Maybe Sana's there with her too.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
absolutely.
that'd be so cool.
I want it.
I want it too. Or maybe Mando needs a ride because his Razor Crest is gone. He needs a ride, so he goes and he goes up to the cantina. There's Afra and Sana in her really cool ship, which I can never remember the name of.
Volt Cobra.
There it is, the Volt Cobra. Nice, good memory.
It's because we've been in this situation like 3 or 4 times.
It happens
so
a
like
lot.
it's burned in my memory, just like it's right next to Figure and Nan and the Modal Nodes. It's
Figure
like
and Dan.
Figure and Dan and Mold Nodes. Like, it's not something that's ever going to be relevant, but it's here and it's not leaving.
Yeah.
Good, because I think we've had to Google it mid-show like 3 times, which is
absolutely.
weird because it's one of the coolest ships I've ever seen.
So I was just thinking this for one of them maybe show up in Star Wars television. I would love to see, like, because we have the Ahsoka show coming up soon. Like, Ahsoka needs to go on some mission somewhere, and she calls up Luke and it's like, Luke, I need a partner. He's like, look, she's a huge pain in the ass, but like Dr. Afra is the one you need, and you have good
yes.
luck.
Please.
Like, she almost sold me to space vampires this one time.
It did happen.
Sorry, she did sell me to space vampires, but
And there were bugs, and I had no idea what was going on.
Halfway through the art changed. All right. We do have a couple art characters that we probably should talk about here, right? Next up is Magna Tolvin, not Manga Tolvin, Magna Tolvin. She is the kind of, it is a little sad that a lot of these great characters are just people that are pinging off of Dr. Afra, but she is a great character herself. For those not to know, she's an Imperial agent, Imperial lieutenant who often was introduced in the Afra series and kind of serves as kind of a foil, but mainly the love interest, who's bouncing her attraction to Afra for some reason. I don't know what she would see in Afra, but in versus her service to the Empire. So she's kind of a really fun character because she's a very, Sana Starros and Dr. Afra kind of play together pretty well in destructive ways. Meanwhile, Tolvin's she's a very like direct sort of person, very straight back, very Imperial, very regulation focused. So like when her and Afra get together, there's a lot of like sparks there, and that's always fun to see. So, it look like she's there's some like debate on where she's like fully loyal to the Empire because she can't swap sides, but there's a lot more to it than that. Like, what are your guys' thoughts onto her? Is she just doing is she just like the sort of person who just needs a place to belong, or was she an Imperial? Is she still like a true blood Imperial all the way through?
I mean, I think that her character is really cool in that I don't think we'll ever really know her true intentions. I think sometimes when you're part of an organization like the Empire or the First Order, who really strips away your like personality and sort of your own freedoms, you sort of look for things like love. And I think that storyline with her and Afro was really great. Because
definitely,
it's like the enemies to lovers type of trope, and that's always a fun trope.
Yeah, and like the way their relationship changes and manipulates, and then when Afro sometimes drops entire nuclear bombs on their relationship, it's really, really cool. And like to see her like transition as the series goes on, and see her like like she very easily could have been, for lack of a better term, like the love interest of Dr. Afro. That could have been her character. She's Afra's girlfriend, but she's not. She has a lot more going on with her. Like whatever organization she finds herself in, she rises to the top because she's brutally competent and really good at regulations and keeping things nice and organized. And it's almost like a counter to Afra, that Afra's chaoticness is what kicks her out of all these organizations and why she can never find a home, while Tolvin and her and essentially like the stick up her butt, like lets her go into like these various, like the Empire, and rise up the ranks pretty quickly because she's good at following orders and getting things done in a way that people like it getting done.
One of the things
yeah, go ahead.
I was real quick. Like one of my favorite moments with her is, without spoiling anything, there's a really great emotional payoff at the very end of the first Afro series with Tolvin, Afra's father, and Vulata, I think is her name. Just like the end, just kind of like coming together and just more or less just emotionally dealing with everything that Afra has gotten them through, part of it is pushed them through, and then part of it is like gotten them through on the other side. It's a very interesting kind of look into, I guess, more complicated like loving relationships where like you have family that you might love, but they might not always do the best by you, but you still have a soft spot for them. I feel like that's kind of like what is embodied in all these characters at the end of the arc, and it is, I think, a very big payoff for what was a very off the wall story in a good way. For 40 issues, it just comes to like, if you told me, like, if you had me guess how that series would have ended, I wouldn't think it would be on an emotional beat. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the highlights in this series of just how well the story is like began, middle, and ended, and how like the character arc was true to all the characters, but you felt like everything came together in a really, really strong way.
Yeah, I think something that's really unique about this character is like when we first meet her, she seems like this very typical sort of Imperial, by the books, everything that she does is for the benefit of the Empire. So she's very traditional in that way, but the look of her character is very non-traditional. Like, did we ever find out what that is like around her neck? Like, did she get injured?
I think I saw it's cybernetics, but I don't think they ever explained like why she has the cybernetics and upper skin and her arms.
I like that she looks very unique like that. I think it brings something more to the character that makes us sort of wonder, like, did something horrible happen to her in the Empire that makes her want to get out, or find something in Afra that she doesn't have in the Empire. And I think she's a very cool character for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely on the look. It's a big step up from, like we're talking about earlier, with the 90s where every woman has to look a certain way. Now you have characters that are can be women and can be confident, great, strong characters that don't have to look like they're a model. Like they can be them, and that is okay.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you said that. That's a great point. I mean, this is like the complete opposite of like Guri from, Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah.
Like, she only has her face showing. I think that's wonderful. I think it's great to show that, it's okay. You don't have to, be the perfect Americanized version of what everybody thinks a woman should look like, All right, so we have a few more characters here that are original to the comics. The next one that we have that Jacob's going to talk about was brought up recently in one of our roundtables. Jacob, who is it?
This is Queen Trios from
Queen
Shutorun.
Trios.
Honestly, one of my favorite comics characters. Like, I definitely,
She's so good.
Yeah, like it's a super cool, like basically inversion. What if Leia was bad kind of thing,
Yeah.
and she's introduced in such a cool way with the Darth Vader series, and she goes on to play an important role in the Star Wars series. And I just like her character and her planet are such interesting new takes in Star Wars that I one of my favorites. Emma, I know you are our resident #1 Leia fan. How do you enjoy or not enjoy? Like, what's your take on the evil Leia?
Yeah, so I definitely, I know it's very clear that they were trying to go for a Leia vibe here, just when you're looking at her alone. Like, if I imagine what Leia would look like if she was like Queen of Alderaan or something, like say Alderaan never, was blown up or whatever, this is like what she would look like to me.
And get Death Starred.
Yeah, get Death Starred. Yeah,
Brutal.
Yeah. Caleb's wearing his Death Star tie. Oh, I think she's put in a tough position. Like,
Yeah.
everybody wants her resources, and it's like, who do you give them to? And then there's sort of like this all-out war. I think we can also tell that she's sort of debating on what side she's going to take, especially in like Mutiny at Mon Cala. She's helping out the rebels, but then she decides to, kind of turn tail there. I think she's an incredibly interesting character, and she got punched in the face by Leia. That's a rare honor, or not so rare, I guess.
But it is an honor. And not to sound overly sappy here, but I think it's that less that we're trying to see Queen Trios here as an evil Leia, as more of a Leia who has never / has lost all hope.
Oh, that's good.
I can see that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, she's really, really cool. Meg, have you read anything with Queen Trios in it?
I haven't, but now I absolutely have to, because I'm sitting here just like listening. It's like I almost can't believe that this character exists. I'm so happy.
It really is. Now, keep in mind, she first shows up, I think, in the Darth Vader annual. That's where we first see her. So don't just read all of the mainline Star Wars series. Well, yes, you should, but read like one of the Darth Vader annuals first that she appears in.
And then I believe she's featured in pretty heavily in the second run of Darth Vader comics.
After it steps out.
That whole arc, that whole arc is like the War of Shotun or something along those lines. Yeah, Shutorun, and she's featured pretty heavily in that arc.
Which is a very interesting planet, by the way, Meg. It's like Mustafar, but it produces like extremely valuable resources for shipbuilding, and she rules the whole planet.
It's equal parts Mustafar and equal parts Edwardian England, with the balls and dancing in noble houses.
Yes, they are very fancy there.
So if you want to see a minor amount of Jane Austen in your Star Wars, there's a little bit of it there.
Please.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to send Meg her Wikipedia page when we end the show, because this means that Meg's also gonna read Mutiny at Mon Cala, which is my favorite thing in Star Wars. You can go back and listen to our roundtable on it and listen to me yell about it.
That's just your goals, to make sure everybody reads that trade paperback.
Of course, that is my mission on this show. That's the only reason why I agreed to do this entire show, the Cosmic Force as a whole, is just to get everybody to read Mutiny at Mon Cala.
She has Mutiny at Mon Cala. I have Lando. What are your two? Hills you'll die on.
Yeah, I know. Meg's hill is Phasma for sure, and
100%.
I don't have a great transition for this, but speaking of awesome badass women. Meg, who is the character you're going to talk about?
That transition is great. I'm so proud of it.
Thank you.
Segue might sue.
It took me a second. We have Sharabe, who is a key member of the rebellion, a fabulous A-wing pilot, and Poe Dameron's mother. I almost said wife. Nope, mother.
No,
Oh,
this is not
no.
Oedipus. No.
What's that, Oedipus? God, you beat me to it.
Poe Dameron's mother.
Yeah, Charabae is so awesome. She's been in the recent run, the 2020 Star Wars mainline as part of Starlight Squadron. She's actually played like a pretty big part in well, before War of the Bounty Hunters, I guess. Yeah, she's an amazing character, and I know, like, you know, Kess, her husband, you know, was part of the Pathfinders on Endor, who, you know, invaded the bunker there, and yeah, we first meet her in Shattered Empire, which is like one of, like, the, I would say, Star Wars comics community's like favorite Star Wars comics, because it fills, well, it doesn't fill a gap really, but it tells a great story right after the Ewok celebration. You know, what happens when all those helmet drums are cleaned up, and yeah, it's great stuff. And also, I don't know if any, I know Meg has, but if anybody's read Poe Dameron Freefall, that book, it has a little bit of Shara, way more Kess than Shara, but we do get a little bit of Shara content there. And I mean, it's amazing to see, actually, like, throughout even like the Poe comics, like, we clearly see that Poe gets all of his talents from Shara, all of his flying skills, because she's such a darn good pilot.
Second only to the Darth Vader comic, this is the storyline that I'm most excited to get back to once we get through with War of the Bounty Hunter. Where we left this off in the mainline comic. Mainline comic has been my favorite of the current runs.
Yeah.
So I really want to get back to her. I really want to get back to that to that storyline and really figure out exactly how she's going to get out of the situation that she's in, because she's deep behind enemy lines right now, and I really want to know how her story continues.
Absolutely. And one thing I really like about her character, Sharpay's character here, is you know, it feels like, you know, and definitely in previous medias and all like that, a lot of times women were defined by their relationships and their roles with the men around them. But it is nice to see a loving relationship between her and her husband. And it's, you know, healthy relationships aren't that common in Star Wars. So it's great
true.
when we
Say that.
It's nice when we get a good representation here. And it's like, you know, and like I'll always remember that the scene early in the Star Wars 2020 run, where it shows, you know, him looking out into the giant fight that's going on that could, you know, that could wipe out the rebel fleet. It's like, they're going to win because my wife is out there, and I have absolute trust in my wife and that she's going to save us all. And that's that's a great sort of thing. It's like, okay, these people are in a great relationship, and I'm here for it, and I want to see more of this. So it's great to see, you know, not having a woman defined by her relationship with a man, but seeing them both be strengthened by that relationship.
Yeah,
Well,
I
and
would
that's-
100% agree with that. And the other thing too, I mean, especially in some of the older Star Wars material, it was more rare to see a prominent woman be a pilot in a squadron. And so I think it's really important to have that representation as well. I mean, being one of the leaders of Starlight Squadron, and you know, I think that's important. Like, I mean, put her in Rogue Squadron, or is she dead by then? I don't really know. But if she's not dead, please put her in Rogue Squadron. I'd like that.
Well, we don't even know when Rogue Squadron is, so
we're all like doing a little bit of math in our heads.
I think it's like 2022,
well, no,
right?
In the timeline. But yeah, no, there's a lot of great women pilots now. You got like half of Black Squadron.
Yep.
You got Sharabe. You have Nora Wexley.
Yes.
You got Iden Versio.
Hera.
Of course, yeah. It was like we were talking about this. I think it was in the Living Force chat the other night, and so, like, listening off female pilots, and someone's like, "Oh yeah, Hera." I'm like, how do we forget Hera?
I know. I think because we see her as like such a great leader, like a military leader.
It's that
like,
General
we forget,
Syndulla.
like,
Mhm.
Yeah. We forget that she's like also an incredible pilot that rivals
Right.
like some of the best pilots we've ever seen in Star Wars. But speaking of women pilots, transition. Evan Verlaine, another female pilot. This is our last character of the night. She is from Alderaan. She's an X-wing pilot, and she helps Leia on a mission, which takes place between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, in which she tries to find the survivors of Alderaan in the what is it called? It's just called Princess Leia, the comic.
Yeah, the
It's like a
Princess Leia.
miniseries.
Yeah, it's Mark Wade miniseries.
Mark Wade, yep. It's really amazing. They go back to Naboo. There's some really amazing like flashbacks that Leia has, but it's really cool to see their relationship and to sort of see their bond over their home planet having literally just been destroyed. And I also think the other cool thing that I really enjoyed in this mini series was that we got to see just two women going on a mission together. There was nobody else around, and I think that was really important for representation. Meg, have you read this out of curiosity?
I haven't, but once again, now that we've talked about it, I gotta add it to my list.
Your interest is piqued. I like it.
It is.
Jacob, what do you think of Evan Verlaine?
Yeah, well, it's the Princess Leia comic, definitely very good. It's very early, like it's 2015, I think.
Yes.
Very early in canon. And it's cool. This like it was so exciting to see her like pop up recently because now she's a part of Starlight Squadron. So it was like, was that?
It's like, they haven't forgotten about this.
3 or 4 or something like that of the main Star Wars run right now. It was like it had like a big shot of like all the members of the squadron and like the old text bubble with all their names. So, like, is that the person from that thing? I was like, you're either from the Leia miniseries or like you like died on Jakku in the Aftermath books. I don't know which one it is, but yeah, no, it's super cool to see her show up now again, and it's really enjoyable. It's interesting to see a character who experienced something very similar to Leia, having that loss of everyone she knew, basically, but handling it very differently. They're both, strong characters, but they both have a different outlook on what the future of the Alderaanian people is. So.
Yeah, I mean, they just went through this gigantic like emotional stressor, but the miniseries doesn't fall into making them too emotional, which I really like, because I feel like that's kind of a more stereotypical representation, and I think that would be easier to do than making them be able to share their emotions with each other, but still be strong enough to carry out a very important mission to the both of them.
Exactly, and I have to be honest with you, to be the actually guy again. I thought she was a Y-wing pilot. Wasn't she also the one who returned?
Was she a Y-wing pilot?
She was flying a Y-wing that one Y-wing you see that returns from the Death Star battle, the very first one.
That was her?
Way, that was her.
That was her.
What?
Yeah, she's along with Luke Skywalker and Wedge Antilles. She's one of the few fighter pilots that survived the first battle of the Death Star, or Battle of Yavin.
What? When was this? Okay, I see it.
That was in the comic. That was in the comic. They clearly said that she was one of the ones who made it back. I
haven't read that comic in like 4 years, so that's
me neither.
So yeah, no, I think she flies X-wings later, but she was like she was the one who like canonically came back.
I just found it on Wikipedia. She was in the Battle of Scarif as Gold 3, part of the Rebel support forces attacking the Shield Gate above Scarif, and then in the Battle of Yavin, goes alongside 7 other Y-wings. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I am corrected. It is not an X-wing. It's sometimes in Star Wars you're like, oh, what ship did this person fly? And it's probably an X-wing. Statistically speaking.
If they're a rebel pilot, they're either flying an X-wing or maybe an A-wing if they're not cool enough for an X-wing.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's cool to know. Like, now when I watch it, I'm never gonna watch that movie the same way again. Like, that's Evan Verlaine. What? That's awesome. All right, so
right here, this is her apparently. There you go. Next time you watch
Yeah.
the movie.
Wow.
Exactly. I think I can see the blonde hair from here.
So it says, so technically she appeared in the movie first. No, I'm just kidding.
Scratch her from
boy.
the show. Cut the last 15 minutes. We're out of here.
Yep. She's not comics original anymore. Nope. All right. So that was fun to talk about the characters. We have a few closing questions here that I'm going to pose. So, Meg, I'm going to ask you this question. How can people support women in Star Wars comics, whether it is writers or artists or characters? How can we as a Star Wars community show that this is what we like and we want more of this?
Well, first of all, if you're able, give them your money. Buy the comics. Money talks. But also, in addition to that, yell about how much you love them. As like Twitter, for example, some people stay off of it because it can be an interesting place, but like it also can be a wonderful place to just tell artists and writers how much you love their things. And like even if a writer like doesn't respond to a thing that you just put out there, like a lot of times they still see that and it still matters, and it still tells them and it tells everyone like they like this thing that we're doing. We need to do more of that. And also, like in addition to supporting writers and artists that are already doing the thing, already making the comics, fans out there doing art and writing their own things, if you like what they're doing, if you see any of that, share that too, because like you never know if someone who's just making art on their own could eventually do a Star Wars thing. If you see something and something's not getting attention and you think it deserves that, like quote tweet it or share it or yell about it. Just tell them you're awesome and keep doing what you're doing, because it makes a difference.
Yeah, I love that. So let's end on an introspective question, I suppose you could say. What would you like to see next from women in Star Wars comics? And this could, I suppose, be like, I want to see characters show up in movies or TV shows or whatever. It doesn't have to be just comic specific. So I'm going to go around the screen here. I'm going to start with Tyler.
Well, I think again, I kind of relate this back to what I said at the top of the show, in that as a father and who's trying to raise 3, young boys, it's we have come a long way, and to be able to show my boys a comic that features Leia in a general position, or Hera in a general's position, or Evan or Shara as a pilot, like there seems to be a more casual occurrence of women just playing a role, and it's the same role that male characters have been playing for years. And so it's from my perspective, and again, it's different from a white male's perspective, so I kind of sort of toss this back to you and to Meg. It's encouraging to see that these characters are starting to be utilized in a way that have been utilized by mostly white male characters, for majority of the history, and to see that as a dad and as a person who enjoys the comics and wants to no longer be, as Caleb mentioned earlier in the show, embarrassed about the sort of things that we're interested in. It's nice to be able to see that, and to be able to see that there is a more equal representation compared to what it was 20 years ago. I don't know if it's still, I don't know if it's equal, equally equal. But there seems to be, we've come a long way since the comics that I remember when I was 13, 14 years old, to be able to share those sorts of, stories and situations with my kids.
That's great. Caleb, do you have any thoughts for what you'd like to see next with women in Star Wars comics?
I think I'll just ditto what Tyler said. I was pretty much exactly what we need to be saying is like, I feel like we've definitely corrected a lot, and we're in a lot of very good position. Like the High Republic, like we have what 2 comic series right now with like 5 more on the way, and if you include the Edge of Balance, all of them are starring women,
Yeah.
Right.
and that's really cool. And I'm really glad about this. And I know angry Twitter's people will be angry about everything, but it's good to see that we're going to say, hey, listen, like we've had like all of the media has been male led. Let's see what happens when females lead it. And guess what? It's the same. It's still really good comic stories. It's really great Star Wars. Like the characters are great. The world is still the one we love. So seeing women in Star Wars is great, because that means we need more Star Wars, and we get to see different types of characters come through and be more like less completely and totally stoic, and we get to see like emotions that are played out that if you're traditionally, if you put it on a male sort of thing, it's not like kindness is not the sort of thing that is normally that you associate with people. Like we like Boba Fett because he's a hard ass and he does really nasty stuff, and we like Boba Fett because of that. But now we get to see other characters come in, and like who was that character? Lumpop, Lumpop, Diva Lumpop. Like she's a amazing character we didn't get to talk about, and I went out and actually bought her physical comic because I want to support that. I want to see like that sort of characterization go on. So more women in Star Wars means more developed characters and more interesting archetypes we can explore. So I'm 100% for it. We need to see more women, and we've seen more characters and more diversity, because that gives us better characters for people to say, that is my favorite character.
I love that. Absolutely. Meg, what do you think? What do you want next for women in Star Wars comics?
We talked a lot tonight about some of the original women characters that have been in comics. We need more of them. It's great to have like the same familiar characters that we know and we love, and that they know that everyone loves, but give us more. Give us, the more characters you have, the more opportunity you have to create more diversity, just because you have to make every character different. They can't be the same. Just keep doing that, and keep letting women be the ones to drive that, to write the characters, to create, what they look like. And just don't ever stop making, just keep going. Keep going.
I love that. Absolutely. Jacob, thoughts?
Yeah, no, definitely like more is great. Like if we we had some great characters we talked about, but if we eliminated Afra, her ex-girlfriends, and like D-list comic characters, we'd have like one person to talk about. And like that's a little disappointing. Like it's a lot of qualifiers, but still you get the idea. There's some people we could have talked about Keith, but there are definitely like we need a deeper bench of quality like ABC list female characters in Star Wars comics. The other thing I want to see, give me a freaking like explicitly trans woman in a Star Wars comic. Like we're making progress. We got a few like non-binary like Sarah Tarrant and Sai. Sai Cantum. Yeah. But yeah, expand beyond the cis woman definition. Like like we said, Twitter will be a toxic firestorm of a place, I'm sure. But you can't like at a certain extent, you can't let that kind of rule your creative decisions. Like give us some more representation, and like Meg and her Project Stardust friends love to say, there are more of us than them. So
if they're angering Twitter, I feel like that's almost like a sign.
It's usually a good thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like you're all right. You're on the right track. You've made a guy living in a basement really mad. So
it's like a compass that always points south.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I echo everything that you guys have said. I think what I will say on this topic is I want the comics that I read to look like the world that I live in. The world that I live in is not just white men or white women or straight women or straight men. Like Jacob was saying, we need more LGBTQ plus representation as well. I want the comics that I read to be written and drawn by people that live in my world, all sorts of different people, because the more points of view that we get, the more diverse our thinking can become. And we can't move past a sort of stagnant sort of thinking without getting more diverse points of view. It's so important to listen to people other than who you are. And I think that we're getting there. We're getting there with women. Definitely, as we said, still some work to be done. Still some work to be done with all sorts of other types of representation. But I think that we're starting to get an audience in general that is more receptive to it. The higher public stuff has been great. There's always going to be people that are going to be irrationally mad about representation. But like you guys said, I think that's a good thing. Let's, make people mad, normalize it. And then hopefully there will be a day that comes where no one is mad when there's a woman or an LGBTQ plus person leading a comic or a book or a TV series or a movie. And I think that day will be a great day. We're not there yet, but hopefully with more conversations like these, we will get there soon. So with that, we have a reminder for not our next episode. That was close. 2 episodes from now. Tyler, do you want to tell people what we have coming up?
Yes, we are doing our first ever manga roundtable. So we are doing the Edge of Balance Volume 1 roundtable on September 29th. So I believe a number of people have already picked it up, but if you haven't, there's still time for you to pick it up and join us for the conversation on September 29th. I actually have not been able to pick this up yet. I haven't been able to be into my local comic store in about 2 weeks, but the next time I go in there, I'm going to make sure that I can pick it up so we can have an exciting conversation about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, thank you so much, Meg, for coming on this show. It was so great to have you. And I hopefully we'll have you back sometime soon, because this was a lot of fun.
This was a lot of fun. Absolutely. Thanks so much for inviting me. I promise that I will have read more comics by the time I come back, and we can talk about them, and it'll be great.
And they'll probably all star Queen Trios after this conversation.
Absolutely.
All right. And with that, that'll do it for this week's episode of The Cosmic Force. Don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and tune in every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube to hear us live. Be sure to visit youtini.com for reviews, articles, and news for the entire expanded universe. We encourage you to join our Youtini Discord community by going to youtini.com/discord. If you'd like to help support the show, you can find us on patreon.com/Youtini and start receiving exclusive perks starting at just $5 a month. A special thank you to Cheryl Bell, OK Endar, Jeremy Kazina, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Freddie C., and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command for their amazing support. You can tweet the show at Cosmic Force Show or at the host individually. Tyler is at Ty Rags. I'm at Irma Jedi 26. Caleb is at Caleb Lamanek. Jacob is at Jacob Bausch. And Meg is at Meg Dowell. Thank you so much to Tyler, Caleb, Jacob, and Meg for hosting with me tonight. And a special thank you to all of our listeners for joining us. We truly appreciate you. See everyone next week, and may the Force be with you.